Hey everybody, and welcome back. This is Professor Nick Carbonaro here at Long Beach City College, and today I'm going to be doing a how-to tutorial on how to calculate expected return on an investment using specifically the approximate yield formula. Doing it by hand somewhat, not a financial calculator, but also doing it on Excel for you so it's easier to do, and it's the method that's most likely used. If you are a college student taking finance or personal finance and you use a Cengage product, this is a tutorial for the Gitman Personal Financial Planning 14th edition Cengage Mind Tab. So let's get started with one of these things. This is a practice problem. It's a practice problem on how to calculate expected return on investment. If you need to find me or any other of my how-to videos, you can go to nickcarbonaro.com, or you can find me on my YouTube channel, Nick Carbonaro. YouTube.com/Professor Nick Carbonaro. So let's get started on this. So in chapter 12, it's all about financial planning and calculating expected return on investment. And one of the how-to tutorials, I'm going to switch this up here. One of the how-to tutorials, there's some out there that are good, but the reason why I want to show you mine is because as a professor, I'm teaching this to my students as well. So this is going to be one of those things that you could use in your classes and you could use to help you go through. And if you have any recommendations, any comments, questions, or concerns, please put them in the comment box below. I'll make more videos for you if that's something that you're interested in. But we could see here in chapter 12, financial planning exercise number 5. Most likely if you take a test, this will be on your test as well. But this is a practice problem through Cengage. It says an investor is thinking about buying some shares of Health Monitoring Incorporated at $50 a share. She expects the price of the stock to rise to $120 a share over the next 3 years. During that time, she also expects to receive annual dividends of $4 per share. Given that the investor's expectations about the future price of the stock and the dividends it pays hold up, what rate of return can the investor expect to return on this investment? And it says, use either the approximate yield formula or a financial calculator to solve this problem. Round the answer to 2 decimal places. So that's the first thing we want to do, is make sure it rounds to 2 decimal places. So let me show you how to do this on Excel. The first thing I like to do is I like to break it down. I like to break down the way that the formula is. So we know that the formula that we're looking for is the approximate yield formula, right? Approximate yield formula. Which is equal to the average current income plus the average cap gains or capital gains, all divided by the average value of the investment. All right, let's center those. Let's put a little bar underneath it so we can see that division sign. We'll do a thick one so that everybody can see a thick bottom border. And we have that right there. The average current income over the average current gains. We'll make that right formulated. Good. And so that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out that formula. And you can see with that formula, there are 3 different things in there, right? There's the average current income, there's the cap gains, capital gains, and then the average value of the investment. So we got to figure out how to find out those 3 numbers to plug into this formula. And that's where it becomes a little difficult. Some professors may require personal financial calculators. Others may try Excel. I'm going to do it by hand just to show you how to do it by hand, because a lot of professors are so old school and want you to do it by hand. So we'll do this. What we need to figure out are the 3 things that are involved in it. We have current income, capital gains, and value of investment. But before we do that, I want to break this down using the information right here. So one of the things that we can break down is the average annual dividends. Another thing we could break down, and it says right here, the average annual dividends is $4 per share. She expects to receive annual dividends of $4 per share. So if it's every year $4 per share, the average of that is $4 per share. And let's put that in dollar format, so we know exactly what's going on. The next one is that it says at $50 a share, she expects the price of the stock to rise to $120 a share, right? So in 2017, the average stock of the share is $50 per share. 2020, 3 years later, it will be $120 a share. So we can look at this, and I'll just do this. All these are dollars, and we can look at that and go, okay, now that we have the formula set up, we need to figure out what goes in here, what goes in here, and what goes down here. So the first thing that we could do, and let me zoom out of this a little bit so we could see it, is this average current income. Now the average current income for this problem is very, very easy to do because we already know the current income. When you do stocks, there's only there's only a type of current income. It's dividends, right? Or the appreciation on the stock after you sold it. But we didn't sell anything. We're trying to figure out what's going forward. So the average annual income for this answer, for this question, is that $4 a share. Great, so we got that first part. That first part is completely done right there. Next, we need to find this average capital gains. Well, a capital gain is, if you don't know, the appreciation of a stock and you selling that stock, or you finding what that appreciation value is. So it says right here, she bought the shares for $50 today. If she bought them, she's thinking about buying them today for $50. In 3 years, it's gonna go to 120. So there's an appreciation in there. During those years, it rises up to a certain amount. Well, we want to know what's the average amount of capital gains per year basis. What is the average per year, right? So one way that we could find this out, and if we put this on here, we could go average capital gains. And we could put that in formula portion by saying, listen, the average capital gains is always the newer price minus the old price, or the expected return minus the current the expected price minus the current price, right? So we could go equals, and I'll write it out, but formulaically it's easier to do it on Excel. 120 minus 50, and now we have to divide that number by something, right? And so what we want to do is divide that by the amount of years, right? The amount of years. Well, how many years are we doing in this example? 3. And that's what it would look like. Now let's actually do the problem. So if we put it on here, we go equals 120 minus your 50 divided by the amount of years, which is 3. And we get to some number that says 23.33333. Now let's leave that there, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be plugging that in at the very end to another formula. So we have the first two. We have average current income. We have average capital gains. Now we just need to find this average value of the investment. So this average value of investment is, again, pretty simple to find out. What we need to do, all we're trying to do with this average value of investment, is figure out over the life of the time, if you bought it today and you sold it in the next 3 years, or you decided to keep holding it for the next 3 years, what would be the value for that investment? What's the average value for that investment? We're not asking really about time. We're just trying to figure out, you have one investment today, that same investment's going to grow, so it technically becomes another investment. So you have one investment plus another investment. What's the average of that investment, right? And to find the average of something, you take the sum of the total, right? The sum of the total. So this one's pretty simple. You just take the 120 plus the 50, right? The new and the old put together, and you divide that entire thing by 2, because there's 2 investments. So you're taking the ending point of one investment, or the starting point, because they're math, you could do it either way. The starting point of one investment, the ending point of the same investment, add those 2 up, divide by 2. So to find out what it is, we could go equals, and then we go 50, because that's the starting point, that's the ending point, and because there's 2 investments, divide by 2. Oh, I didn't put it on there. Sorry. Divide by 2. Good. So now we have 3 numbers. We have 3 numbers that plug into our thing. And let me color code it for you. So that one's yellow. One's green. And that one is blue, right? And we could actually do this here and go average current income as being yellow. Let's load it up. Ooh, don't want to do that. That looks nasty. We'll just plug it in right there. We have 3 different things, right? Average current income, average capital gains, average value of investment. Average capital gains. Great. Now all we got to do is plug this into the formula, right? We know what the formula is over here, so let's plug it into the formula. Let's plug it into the approximate yield formula that we have here, and I'll copy this down here so we could actually do it right here. The average current income is this. It's $4 plus the average capital gains, which is this 23.333. And we said we're actually going to divide that by the average investment, which is 85. So we have these 2 right here. Let's center it up. Let's put another thick border so you can see what I'm talking about over here. And that's your average thing. Now let's actually calculate this out. Let's calculate the formula to make it easier for us. So we have, and we'll just take the numbers straight from where they're at over here. $4 plus this one divided by the average value of investment. Plug those in there and it comes out to this, but remember the formula says round the answer to 2 decimal places, and this is key for investment people, for finance majors, accounting majors. You can't leave that as a decimal point, because what you're saying in the financial world is that return is less than 1%. It's 0.32% of a return. Well, you can't do that, right? So you have to put it in the whole numbers with 2 places. So if we put it in a percentage form, and then we get the little zeros out there, and we could go 32.16, right? 32.16 will be your average approximate yield formula that if you invested in that today, right now, over the next 3 years, that's what it would come out to. And so we could check ourselves. We could put it in here and go 32.16, check my work. Hopefully it comes out correctly the way that we did it. And it did, right? And we got that right answer. So again, to recap, right? To recap what we did. We first found out what the approximate yield formula was. Then once we did, we broke down all the information for the approximate yield. You need to find the average annual dividends over here. You need to find the dates, the 3 years. You need to plug those in. Then you just plug the formula. Then we find out what the average current income is by dividing, by just knowing that annual dividends are your annual current income. So that's the same. Those 2 are the same. These 2 are the exact same things. The average capital gains we divide by finding out what the 120 minus the 50 divided by 3. 120 minus 50 divided by 3 years in between gets us that number. The average value of the investment, we have our value as being these 2 numbers, 50 and 120, and we add those 2 together, and then we just divide by 2 because it's the sum of the total. Add those all up, you put them in the formula right here, you divide it out, and you get your answer. So if you would like to know any more about any of these things or any more videos like this, please comment below, email me. All my information is in the box. I also have how-to videos for my social media class that you could check out, how to make a GIF using Jiffy, how to create a LinkedIn account. So if there's anything you'd like to see, please comment, subscribe, and check out my website. So if you have any questions, I'll see you online. Thank you so much.